Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're looking at something that is frankly impossible, an ancient mega project that absolutely shatters everything we thought we knew about human origins. We're traveling to a site that literally forces us to rewrite the history books from scratch, uncovering secrets that have been buried under the earth for millennia. So if you've ever wondered how human civilization actually got its start, well, you're in exactly the right place. Let's get into it.
Okay, let's dive into this timeline, because the sheer gap here is just staggering. Göbekli Tepe is roughly 12,000 years old. To put that into perspective, that makes it 7,000 years older than the pyramids of Egypt. It's 6,000 years older than Stonehenge. By all conventional scientific accounts, a place like this simply shouldn't exist. We're talking about an era when humanity hadn't developed writing, hadn't worked with metal, and, hadn't even invented the wheel yet. And still, they built something incredibly massive.
And when I say massive, I mean crushing, unimaginable weight. This place is made up of these vast circular enclosures filled with massive stone megaliths, including over 200 T-shaped pillars. These things are 20 feet tall and weigh a staggering 15 tons each. That's 30,000 pounds. And remember, no wheels, no domesticated beasts of burden like oxen or horses to do the heavy lifting for them. So, how on earth did our ancestors move these colossal blocks of limestone without snapping them in half, let alone stand them perfectly upright?
Section 1. The Blueprint of the Ancients.
Let's look at the actual logistics of how they pulled off this impossible feat. Some of these 15-ton stones were hauled up to 1,600 feet away from their quarries. The whole process was just brilliantly systematic. First, they'd cut the limestone right along the natural cracks in the bedrock. Then, they probably used thick ropes to drag these massive blocks over logs. Or alternatively, they just carefully rotated them step by step, inching them across the ground. With enough people working in perfect tight coordination, they could actually move these giants across the landscape.
And once they got them set up, these weren't just blank, boring rocks. The anatomy of these T-pillars is actually really fascinating. The horizontal top piece represents a head, and the vertical shaft is the body. If you look really closely at the carvings, you'll see bent arms with fingers wrapping around the front, a belt around the waist, and, hanging down from that belt, what looks exactly like a fox skin. Surrounding these pillars were stone benches facing inward. Just imagine yourself sitting on one of those stone seats almost 12,000 years ago. These spaces were clearly designed with a conical roof over them, a specific place for our ancestors to gather together, maybe to share stories of a successful hunt, or mourn their losses.
Now, what's really interesting here is the sheer intensity of the wildlife they carved into these stones. I mean, every standing pillar is completely covered in them. You've got these huge-toothed leopards looking like they're ready to pounce, snakes slithering downward, wild boars and vultures holding these sphere-like objects that are said to represent human heads. And the artists, they actually used a highly advanced sense of 3D perspective. Most of these animals are shown in their most terrifying, ferocious forms. Honestly, it feels exactly like a loud, clear warning to anyone approaching. This definitely wasn't just some simple band of hunter-gatherers. This was a deeply complex society with skilled sculptors and master storytellers.
But then, after using the site for 1,500 years, they did something completely baffling. They buried it. Deliberately. They completely covered Göbekli Tepe in earth and just walked away, without leaving a single clue as to why. Honestly, it's like a giant puzzle. But experts think that building the structure was like its birth, renewing the walls was its life cycle, and burying it, that was its death. By burying it, they actually stopped it from collapsing over time, turning it into this perfect prehistoric time capsule. It preserved not just the physical stones, but the deep memories and the rituals that happened right there inside those walls.
Section 2. Inventing the corner. Let's move to and see how this builds.
We're taking a quick trip just 22 miles away to a sister site called Karahan Tepe. As we trace the layout here, it's like literally walking through a timeline of architectural evolution. It starts with the same round rooms we saw at Gobekli Tepe, which then slowly stretch out into these oval, interconnected pits carved right into the bedrock. But then, as you step into the absolute oldest parts of the site, this monumental shift happens. About 11,000 years ago, humans invented the 90-degree corner. Yep, we start seeing sharp rectangular floor plans. This is, without a doubt, one of the single most important breakthroughs in the history of architecture. Why? Because rectangular rooms are way easier to divide up, they can be expanded endlessly, and they hold up much heavier roofs than round ones. The very concept of the square rooms we live in today started right here.
And right smack in the middle of Karahan Tepe's newly discovered public square sits this incredible artifact, an 8-foot-tall figure. It's actually the oldest known life-sized human statue ever found. He's holding his phallus, a clear symbol of male fertility, just sitting there, watching over this massive central gathering space. Flanked by 11 other stone figures carved straight out of the bedrock, this place was undeniably built for intense rituals. It really makes you wonder, right? What kind of wild events took place under this statue's gaze? What kind of brutal crises forced them to band together? Or what massive celebrations echoed through those stone walls?
Section 3. A legacy of rebuilding. You see, this drive to gather, to build, and to fiercely protect a community, it's deeply baked into the DNA of this land. And to truly grasp that, we need to look at the present day. On February 6, 2023, one of the absolute worst disasters in modern history hit this exact same region in southeastern Turkey. Two massive earthquakes, magnitude 7.7 and 7.6, literally turned entire cities to rubble and turned the lives of 14 million people upside down. Survivors talked about this terrifying reality where the earth just wouldn't stop shaking. One man recalled his wife looking at him and saying, "Hassan, this isn't going to stop." In an instant, entire childhoods, precious memories, and lifelong plans were completely wiped out.
And this brilliantly illustrates the enduring human spirit of this land. The sheer scale of the mobilization to rebuild is just awe-inspiring. Take the Ebrar site in Kahramanmaraş, for example. 18 out of 22 blocks completely collapsed. Today, brand new earthquake-resistant homes have already been built and handed back to the owners. In Ingridny, they took this barren, rocky wasteland and in record time turned it into a massive residential city covering 1,200 acres with 16,000 new homes, schools, and hospitals. Or look at Antakya, this beautiful historic multicultural hub. They carefully restored the 1,400-year-old dome of Anatolia's oldest mosque while completely revitalizing the city center around it.
Across the entire earthquake zone, a staggering 455,000 homes and workplaces have been completed. It's an unbelievable reconstruction effort that literally dragged ruined cities back from the ashes, giving millions of survivors a safe, hopeful, fresh start. It shows this unbroken chain of absolute resilience, the eternal, undeniable human need to build and rebuild our communities in Anatolia, a drive that stretches all the way from the Neolithic era straight through to today.
Section 4. Rewriting human history.
So, let's bring this all together. I really want you to take a second and pause here. Think about it. We have these massive 15-ton pillars. We've got incredibly complex animal carvings. We have 11,000-year-old corners. But why does any of this fundamentally alter the story of humanity as we know it? What is the big deal?
So, the crucial point is this. For decades, the old story, the one taught in every single textbook, went like this. Early humans were nomadic hunter-gatherers. They roamed around to survive. Then, one day they figured out agriculture by planting seeds. Because those crops needed time to grow, they had to stop moving and stay put in one spot. Basically, farming led to settling down. But Göbekli Tepe completely shatters that idea. The new story reveals that humans actually came together and settled down in one spot for long periods to build these massive temples and hold complex rituals long before they ever figured out agriculture. The human desire to gather for religion and rituals actually came first. It was settling down for these gatherings that ultimately forced them to figure out how to farm.
Because think about it, you have to feed all those people gathering for these massive rituals. You had this huge, dense population hanging out together, and to keep that going without constantly moving around to find berries and game, they had to get creative. They had to innovate. To put this in perspective, today, nearly 800,000 square miles of land worldwide is used to grow grain, and it literally all started right here. There are 1.5 billion cattle on planet Earth right now, and their wild ancestors, they were first domesticated in this exact region. Our ancestors were backed into a corner and forced to learn how to plant seeds and domesticate animals just to keep their settled, ritual-focused way of life going. The events on this land literally shifted the entire trajectory of the human race.
And here is the most mind-blowing fact I'm going to leave you with today. Over the past 30 years of digging, only about 10% of Göbekli Tepe has actually been unearthed. 90% of it is still completely hidden underground. Uncovering the rest of it could literally take centuries because they have to be so incredibly precise. So if just this tiny 10% fraction was enough to completely flip the timeline of human civilization and the origins of agriculture on its head, what other mind-bending secrets are still waiting right beneath our feet? Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and hey, keep questioning the history we think we know.